Okay, hello there everybody, Polymer Bob here. I'm back with a follow-up on my previous two videos. As I'm sure you know by now, back on April 25th, the Communist government in China sent out a threatening letter to 36 airlines demanding that they list territories, specifically Macau, Taiwan, and Hong Kong, as definitively part of China. My previous two videos, I did an informal survey and came up with this list of the airlines that I found were and were not kowtowing to the communists. I found 11 airlines were not and 4 were. Now, of course, as you know, this is a very incomplete survey. The list of the airlines that have received the letter has not been made public, so I cannot do a full survey. There have been some interesting developments that I'll try to relate in this video. There have been some news reports out somewhere along the lines of airlines obey Beijing's demand to call Taiwan part of China, and there's some other news reports. They use other verbs, kowtow or cave or some derogatory term like that. Now, Associated Press came up with this chart. It's a little hard to see, so I'm going to try to magnify it for you. Here we are. It says, okay, airlines cave to Beijing's demands. Now, basically what this chart is, it's a list of the airlines that Associated Press surveyed. They surveyed their web pages, and they came up with a list of airlines here on the left that do not refer to Taiwan as part of China. These airlines regard Taiwan as separate. Over here on the right, we have the airlines that regard Taiwan as part of China. So that's where we get the airlines cave to Beijing's demands. Now, since Associated Press does not have that list of 36 airlines any more than anybody else, this must be considered an informal survey, just like mine, though it seems to be a fairly complete one. The problem here is that they list 18 airlines on the left and 20 on the right. Now that's 38. Only 36 airlines received the threatening letter. This actually makes sense because we have to assume that there are airlines out there who have been listing Taiwan as part of China for years or for perhaps decades. There's no way of knowing. Like Malaysia Airlines, we know they seem to have changed their website recently. Finnair, we don't know. They could have listed Taiwan as part of China for 50 years. We have no idea. So we have to assume that some of these, at least some of these, airlines on the right are airlines that have been listing Taiwan as part of China for a considerable period of time. I'd say most of them probably have changed their web pages as a result of the letter. Over here on the left, the 18 airlines that list Taiwan separately from China, we can assume that they all received a letter. Now, there's some interesting things here. Let me try to start and make this coherent. This is the web page of an airline which I'm slightly embarrassed to admit I did not know existed. This is Vietjet, the Vietnamese airline. Now, if you look at their origin and destination web page, you see these people are particularly blatant about separating China into its component parts, kind of like Lego blocks. Okay, you see here, Hong Kong is a separate entity, Taiwan is a separate entity, Macau is a separate entity, mainland China is a separate entity. So Vietjet is pretty blatant in separating China into its parts here. So I'm going to have to go out on a limb, and I'm going to say that Vietjet almost certainly is one of the airlines that received that threatening letter. Okay, I just cannot imagine that they separate China as blatantly as they do and did not receive a letter. They must have gotten a letter. If they did, that changes our count just a little bit. We no longer have 18 airlines that are resisting the Chinese pressure. We have 19. Vietjet is not in this list on either side. So if we put Vietjet over here on the left, that would mean 19 airlines have resisted Chinese pressure to unify their web pages with Taiwan, and that just leaves 17 airlines over here on the right that have kowtowed to Chinese pressure. Now there are 20 airlines over here, so I'm going to guess the other 3 are those airlines that have listed Taiwan as part of China, probably years or decades. All right, so we seem to have a slight, not a major, but a slight majority of airlines that seem to be resisting the pressure. Now, a couple interesting observations. The American air carriers, American Airlines, United, Hawaiian, and Delta, are all standing firm. They have resisted the Chinese pressure. Air Canada, as we know from the previous video, has kowtowed. If you look at, it's divided up by region. If you look at Asia, it's roughly an even split. I'd say maybe a few more airlines have resisted than have kowtowed. Australia, there's only one airline, that's Qantas, they're standing firm. Middle East, it's about even, 2 and 2. What's really interesting here is Europe. Europe kind of surprised me because if you look here, in Europe there are 2 airlines, Air France and KLM, that are standing firm against the Chinese pressure, whereas you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 European airlines that have either kowtowed to the letter or have listed Taiwan as part of China for a period of years, and so would not have been a recipient of the letter. I kind of find this interesting because in Europe they value freedom and democracy probably more than most other places, yet it seems as though they don't seem to show a whole lot of support for the Taiwanese, who of course are a democracy. That's in contrast to the United States, where all 4 airlines are standing firm. Another interesting development that occurred, and this was not recent, this is I think a couple weeks back, but Marco Rubio, the senator from Florida, back on May 18th, sent out a letter to at least 2 airlines, United and Delta, and probably the remaining 2 as well. Basically, Mr. Rubio, who's always been a firebrand in support of Taiwan, sent out this letter. I won't read all of it, but basically it states that the United States Congress stands behind the American air carriers in their dealings with the communists. So that must have given them some measure of courage, and it's signed by a bipartisan group. Marco Rubio is a Republican, Robert Menendez is a Democrat, and then several other senators sign after them. But they've been spearheading this, and it's a very bipartisan effort. So in any case, whatever arguments we may have over this issue, all arguments are going to come to an end tomorrow. Tomorrow is May 25th, and that is the deadline for kowtowing to the communists or facing consequences. It's hard to predict just exactly what those consequences will be, So if you're wondering what's going to happen, you will not have to wonder for very much longer, as this issue is about to come to a head very quickly. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video, and should there be further developments, and I can almost guarantee you there will be, I will certainly do a follow-up. Thank you very much, and enjoy your day. Bye.